Hello and welcome to American History News. Today we're going to be talking about the Texas Revolution. To start us off, we're going to start with the Enlightenment all the way down to Texas now. So, now to the Enlightenment. To start us off, the Enlightenment comes to Mexico. By the early 1800s, many colonists wanted to make their own laws and have more control. The Enlightenment movement had challenged the rule of kings as opposed to the rule of men and had been successful in American and French revolutions.
Thank you, Natalie. Now we're going to talk about Father Hidalgo's call for independence. Father Hidalgo calls for the liberation of the Mexican people from Spain. Liberation is the act of becoming free. September 16, 1810, Father Hidalgo issues the grito or call for Mexicans to rise up and overthrow the Spanish government. In 1811, Hidalgo was captured and executed by Spanish forces. With the idea of revolution would not die.
Thank you, Tino. And now to Texas's Declaration of Independence. George C. Childress heads to the committee to form a declaration. Modeled after the U.S. Declaration of Independence, it declares the right of revolution. Then the declaration lists grievances and complaints against Mexico and finally declares Texas independent. March 2nd, 1836, the convention votes to approve the declaration. This is Texas's Independence Day. Now to you, Carson.
In 3, 2.
I'm Collie.
And I'm Sam.
And this is iCollie. And today on the show we are going to be talking about the Texas Revolution.
Random dancing.
Thank you, Natalie. Now we're going to talk about the surge of immigration. At first, Spain tried to control the waves of illegal American immigrants by allowing Anglo-Americans to settle in Missouri on generous land grants if they agreed to two important conditions. The settlers had to pledge their loyalty to the Spanish government and become Catholics, which many would not. Spain hoped to accomplish two things with this proposal. First, it wanted to populate the area to extend Spanish rule. At the same time, it hoped the new settlers would prevent other Anglo-Americans from entering the territory illegally. Under the plan, George Morgan became the first impresario to recruit settlers from the U.S. responsible to Spanish authorities for them. In 1789, Morgan founded a new Madrid on the west bank of the Mississippi River, in which is now Missouri. Morgan's actions in which founding the colony served as the example for later impresarios.
Thank you, Carson. And now the differences between Texan colonists and Mexican government. First, about the Texas colonists is that the Texas colonists have a small settlement and they only rule over a couple of families, and the Mexican government has a widespread colony all around, and they have to rule a bunch of people, and that's what the differences between Texas and colonists and Mexican government. Now to you, Tino.
After the overthrow of the Mexican Empire of Agustin Iturbide, in the new constitution, the republic took the name of the United Mexican States and was defined as a representative federal republic. With Catholicism as the official and unique religion, it was replaced by the Federal Constitution of the United Mexican States of 1857.
Thank you, Tino. Now we're going to talk about the law of April 6, 1830. On this date, Mexico passed a law banning immigration from the United States. Also, it encouraged Mexicans and Europeans to settle in Texas, even offering money and free land. New provisions were made to stop immigration, such as building forts to enforce the law and establishing custom duties. Texans were angered, and no slaves would hurt the cotton economy, and friends and relatives were no longer able to join them in Texas. Many felt these laws were a violation of the state's rights as per the Constitution of 1824. Now to Josh.
Hey Carson, now we're going to talk about the Battle of Velasco. John Austin with his cannon had to fight his way past Mexican soldiers led by Colonel Domingo Arrieta near Velasco. It's the first incident of Texans and Mexicans shooting at each other. 10 Texans and 5 Mexicans are killed before the Mexicans surrender after running out of ammunition. Austin arrives in Anuka, realizing the situation has been resolved. Now to Jake and Natalie.
Thank you, Josh. And now to the convention of 1833 and 1832. On October 1832, 56 delegates met to draft the new resolutions. Stephen F. Austin is elected president of the convention, and the resolutions called for repealing the law of April 6, 1830, a new Texas state government, schools, better protection against Indian attacks, and no custom duties. Austin goes to San Antonio to gain support, but officials refused to send the resolutions to Mexico City. April 1st, 1833, while Austin is gone, a new convention meets, passing the same resolutions, but also preparing a new state constitution for Texas. William H. Harton is the president of this convention. Many Mexicans and Tejanos see this outright defense to Mexican authorities. Now to you, Josh.
Spanish forces here.
Hidalgo! Oh, no.
Go.
Thank you, Jake and Natalie. Now we're going to talk about the Battle of Gonzales. Texans buried the cannon, refusing to surrender it. 600 colonists vowed to fight for their cannon. They decorated it with a flag stating, "Come and take it." October 2nd, 1835, Texans fired the cannon at the Mexican army, forcing them to retreat. That was the first battle of Texas Revolution. We are 1-0, baby.
Thank you, Josh. Now we're going to talk about the Convention of 1836. March 1st, Washington on the Brazos. The convention meets. March 2nd, Texas signed the Declaration of Independence. In 2 weeks, they have a constitution written as well. Now to you, Josh.
About the Battle of the Alamo. After the Battle of San Antonio, Colonel James Neal commands the Texans in San Antonio. Colonel James Fannin commands Texans gathering at Goliad. No Mexican troops remained in Texas. Santa Anna in a range was really headed north to Texas, collecting his army as he went. He was determined to take Texas back and crush the Texan rebels. Texans were unorganized and scattered, but didn't worry. They thought they had plenty of time to get ready for Santa Anna. The famous Battle of the Alamo still has many unanswered questions, but it was certainly a rally cry for the rest of the revolution and of today's countries. Now to Carson.
We, the Mexican army, are now going to execute the Republic of Texas.
Me, James Fannin, will not go down without a fight. Thank you, Carson. Now on to the Battle of San Jacinto. April 20th, a small skirmish occurs while Texans move into position. April 21st, Death Smith burned the bridge at Vince's Bayou. This left no retreat for either army. At 3 o'clock, Houston orders the attack. Texans shouted, "Remember the Alamo!" and "Remember Goliad!" as they fought. The battle lasted 18 minutes. 9 Texans were killed, 30 were wounded. 630 Mexicans were killed, 730 were captive. Sam Houston was shot in the ankle by a musket ball. Santa Anna was captured the next day, hiding in a barn.
Thank you, Josh. Now we're going to talk about selecting a new capital. Before Houston was elected an interim president, David Burnett had declared Columbia the capital city. The small town in Missouri country was where the first Texas Congress was met on October 3rd, 1836. However, many people believed that the town was too small and isolated to serve as the capital city. A large number of Texans wanted to find a new location for the capital. Two brothers, John and Augustus Allen, planned to build a new town near Harrisburg, which had been burned during the Revolution. The Allen brothers agreed to provide buildings in the town for the government and to name it in honor of Senator Houston. Congress in Houston found the conditions of Houston adequate. The government buildings were just log structures, and the streets were muddy. Government officials and visitors complained about the heat, humidity, diseases, and size of mosquitoes. Although many people demanded the capital be moved, the town of Houston remained the capital of Texas throughout Houston's first administration. Now to Natalie.